Welcome to Actions and Limits. My name is Justin Atherton. I'm the Peak Performance Consultant for Confidence Unchained. With me as always is Paul Fortune. Paul is a mindset coach and the founder of A Call to Action. And together, we make Actions and Limits. Welcome to the show, the podcast where we talk about the actions we can take and the limits we create. Paul, still on lockdown, across the country. What are you doing to keep yourself busy over there, man?
Well, it's getting tough, but one of the things that I try to do is what a lot of the doctors are saying is get outside and get some sun on your face for at least an hour a day. It really does change your mood. You start to just your mind just starts to wander. Your worries kind of subside. So when you get back in the house, you kind of have a little bit more of a peaceful aura. So that's what I've been trying to do. Now, for you though, Justin, I got to ask you this question because you look like you are one. Are you a slippers man? A slippers man? Do you wear slippers? I can see you, in a robe, get your slippers on, go walk, get a cup of coffee with your slippers. No. Do you wear slippers?
No slippers.
You don't wear slippers?
No
I see big fluffy slippers.
Fluffy slippers,
Yeah.
I think I would have been a slippers guy if I could ever find slippers that fit my feet. But I've had a couple pairs in the past, and they just my heel has fallen out of it. So I'm like, there's no point in wearing these things. So
you gotta go to a big and tall store.
Yeah, I guess I'm not a slippers guy.
I see black slippers. I see black slippers and a robe. Maybe showing your little tan line from your feet because you wear shoes a lot. So I see a little tan line from your leg to your foot. The white of your foot to the tan of your leg, and paper in your armpit while you walk to the restroom.
There's so many questions right now. Why is this in your head of me in slippers and a robe with a tan line around my feet? There's so many questions right now, Paul. No, not a slippers guy.
What are you doing to keep busy outside of your work?
Man, sleeping. I'm one of the ones that's sleeping some of it away. Getting off work and being someone that's essential personnel, right? Having to be out there and working and coming home and maybe feeling a little bit under the weather. It's not it's not the corona, or at least I hope not. But I've been sleeping a lot. Not a lot of things going on. It's just me around here. I would say, man, work has been taking up a lot of time. So I don't have anything super exciting over here. I'm not putting around in slippers in a robe, reading the newspaper under my arm. Do people even do that anymore? Do people get the newspaper delivered?
I don't know, but I just picture that. I just picture the newspaper under your arm.
No. So I think getting outside is important. I'm able to go outside and be out and about working. So I don't know if I can call it a good thing or not. It's kind of one of those things. It's grateful to have my job during this time. I know there's a lot of people that are out of work or are on a little hiatus with their business. So grateful for that. I'm not going to complain about it because I'm in a spot to where I am secure. It's just having to be out there every day dealing with the public. So so I'm excited about our guest coming on the show today, Lisa Gornall. I think she's going to be kind of a different guest than we've had. She's going to talk a lot about some ideas like energy work and different techniques as far as meditation and things like that. So I know, Paul, you watch some of her videos and stuff. So I'm excited to have her come on the show and fill us in.
Absolutely. I think energy is very important. Justin, you and I, we approach it in a different way than Lisa does, but that's great. I mean, there's so many different ways to get to the finish line. There's no set way, there's no conventional way, and she has a way for her clients the way she does it, and we have a way for our clients that suit us. So it's all good stuff.
Sure. So before we bring out Lisa, I want to mention our sponsor again. So our sponsor from the beginning of the show has been Frontline Standard. And Frontline Standard is a veteran and law enforcement-owned patriotic apparel company based out of Texas. And with every product purchased from Frontline Standard, they donate $1 to a nonprofit organization supporting American heroes and their families. Frontline Standard is run by a former U.S. Marine who now works as a police officer. And him and his wife were looking for a way to give back to those who sacrifice so much on a daily basis. Best ways to get a hold of Frontline Standard Apparel is find them on Instagram or Facebook. And they also sell their products on Amazon and Etsy, Pomp USA, and GovX. And if you direct message them and mention the Actions and Limits podcast, you will get 35% off your entire order. So let's go ahead and bring out our guest. So Lisa Gornall, she's a spiritual medium, a healer, and a coach. And Lisa is in a class of her own. Lisa was born with abilities to become one with your energy. She intuitively empowers successful entrepreneurs to reclaim your time, relationships, inner game, and energy so that you can live a fulfilling and happy life. If work is your passion and you know you are here to enjoy a life outside of work, but you don't know how to do that, and keep scaling your income. Since 2002, Lisa has combined her intuitive abilities with healing and coaching, and she gets to the root of your success wound by releasing those fears, family patterns, beliefs, energies, and other life experiences that have kept you stuck on a path that isn't working. And if you're ready to finally enjoy your success and be happy, then reach out to Lisa Gornall. All right, well, let's welcome Lisa Gornall to the show. Lisa, we're excited to have you on the show. I know it's kind of a tough time in the world right now. Paul and I were talking about it a little bit before, and we were thinking that people would be reaching out to you for the things you do, or the alternate type of medicine and ideas out there because of the time in the world that it is. So give us a little bit of background on how you got involved with everything.
So with the work that I do?
Yeah.
So I was born with my intuitive abilities. So as a child, I could see spirits, but I didn't know that they were spirits until somebody said, here's a spirit. And I was like, oh, I've been seeing those forever. And I used to sit with kids on the playground and I would listen to their problems, the big problems that we have when we're in elementary school. And it was like I could see it on TV. So if they were talking about their parents and their grandparents or their siblings, I could see it. And so I started back in elementary school, and it just kind of built as I grew and got older. And then I actually went to college for nursing. I thought I wanted to be a hospice nurse to help people transition over. And then in my senior year, with 2 classes left to go, here I am. I started all over again, got a completely different degree, different bachelor's degree, and I've been doing this work since 2002.
Okay.
Lisa, can you describe the spirits that you see? Is there like a color or anything that you could describe that?
So it depends. I actually have 2 clients who've had deaths since the holidays, and it depends on how they choose to show up. So sometimes I'll see a light, sometimes I'll see them as they were, sometimes I'll just hear them. And then my work isn't so much to be that medium in between the 2 of you, because sometimes interpretation gets lost. Sometimes it might be, nighttime and you might want to communicate with them. And so it's really important to me that I teach you how to communicate with the spirits, because that's where the power is. And the spirits are always available. They'll always jump in. If you think, oh, I want to talk to my grandma or my grandpa or my dad or my sister or whoever, they just pop in. And so it's really important for you to have those tools to know how to do that. And you can.
That's interesting. Paul and I have had conversations about it before. I've never experienced anything like that. I know Paul, you talked about your own experiences with things like that, but um, that has to be pretty interesting. And thinking about that started when you were a kid and not knowing, did you have some mentor that kind of guided you through that or understanding that process?
So when I was 9, my mom had a paranormal investigator come to our house who was well known in Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Her name was Mary Ann. She was on a TV show for a while on NBC, The Ghost Whisperer. And she came to our house to clear the spirit who came in with a piece of furniture. Sometimes spirits get attached to things. So this came in with a piece of furniture. And luckily that piece of furniture was in my room. So I had a lot of experience with this energy, but I didn't know what it was until she was putting it into the white light to help it transition over. And right when she put it in the white light, and she was doing all that, I saw it. And in that moment, my head was like all these different times, all these different things I had seen. And interestingly enough, this spirit hated cats. So our cats would literally attack us. They would like be doing something in the corner of the room and they would just come over and like lash onto us and attack us. And as soon as she was gone, that all stopped.
Why did your mother think to call the ghost whisperer? Was she seeing things?
My mom's very intuitive. Both of my parents are very intuitive. My abilities are a little bit different than theirs, but I think my mom had just been noticing things and she knew that that was not normal behavior for a pet to be doing that we had had for a while. And so she called her in for actually 2 things. One was that, and the other was we had, I don't know what you believe about this, but we had a curse on the house and it was putting so much force on that there was like a crack happening in the foundation and like all this stuff that all stopped after she cleared it. So when she came to clear that energy, I could see that lift up as well. So
How did you know there was a curse?
My mom thought that there was a curse because of things that were happening. So like there was weird things happening with the outlets. Like she said, there was all of a sudden this foundation crack that was starting in the house and water was starting to come through, just things that had never happened before. And so she reached out to this woman and she was like, yep, you have a curse. Yes, you have a spirit. So, I mean, this was a long time ago because, I'm not, anywhere near 9 anymore. But she came to our house and she started with the spirit. And she cleared that first. That was very easy just to see the spirit. And she does things differently than I do. She had like these little Italian seeds that she had blessed by a pope in Italy or a priest in Italy. And she was Italian. And so you were supposed to carry these seeds with you. And then she would have you put quartz or something over the doors to keep the house safe or certain windows or whatever. And I don't actually teach any of that. I make it very simple. Like people will even sage a house to clear out a house. Well, I'm actually allergic to sage, so I can't burn sage and breathe. So that doesn't work in my household. So I taught everybody just to do everything with the white light, which I learned when I was 20.
Okay.
So I kind of was introduced to it when I was 9, but then I learned more about it when I was 20. And then intuitively, it just all kind of went from there.
And you mentioned the white light, and I know I've been through a couple of your guided meditations. So talk a little bit about that. So there's a similar process with the light, because I've done several different types of meditation before, but the one you do with the light and coming in, describe that a little bit, and how is that different than other types of meditation?
Well, there's millions of types of meditation out
Sure.
there. I mean, meditation is huge. Even like right now with the quarantine and everything that we're in is huge. But the reason that I do the white light in the meditation is because we're made out of energy. We can all agree to that. We're all some sort of energy. And you've heard that you cross over in the white light. You've heard, about babies coming through the white light tunnel and coming here, right? So we have all these little sayings in our society that support this. So we're born into the light, we are the light, and we cross over into the light. But what happens is as we get stressed, worried, angry, upset throughout the day, we're energetic beings. We store that energy to deal with it later. Well, when's later? Usually when we've had so much that we literally just explode on somebody over something so trivial. It had nothing to do with all the other stuff that we were storing. So the white light, I just recommend people bring it in from the top of their head and they let it flow gently and easily through their body, down to their feet and into the earth. And that just gives you a nice, good balance. And if you find that you can't bring that white light through, then that tells you that you're storing energy in a specific space. So if you see black or red or gray or like a dark green or something like that, that tells you that you have letting go to do in that space. And then the white light, it's love, it's God, it's universe, it's source, it's non-denominational, it's whatever you want to call it. It's our energy. You can call it
Sure.
our chi. It doesn't matter what you call it, but it's just our energy.
And
I
how
can
have you
imagine.
no, go ahead, Paul.
I can imagine you didn't learn this in, going to Ohio State or anything like that. You probably had to go to a different type of school to learn all this.
I definitely didn't learn it in college. There is no college that you can go to. There's a ton of certification programs out there. So I am a Reiki master. I don't practice in the traditional sense of Reiki, whereas I have a massage table and I put my hands on people. I actually, as Justin knows, I just do the work from afar. All my work is on Zoom except for one client that I have, because I have clients all around the world. So I don't need to touch people, but I think it's just through my life, through just talking with people and having experiences with people, it just kind of all came together for me. And I would see things in a way that they wouldn't see it. I mean, the reason that I even wrote books was because I was watching Super Soul Sunday. My kids were little. They were in bed. My husband was working because we've been self-employed forever. He was upstairs working. And I was watching this, and he came downstairs, and I was so annoyed. And he's like, why do you keep watching this if you're so annoyed? And I'm like, because I want to see what they're telling people and what they're teaching people. And like, they're always missing something. They're like, move away from the thought. I'm like, well, that's great. You put it right here. It's still right here. You didn't clear it. You didn't let it go. It's just hanging right here. And he's like, well, then why don't you write a book? I'm like, I don't want to write a book. But it's just through the years. I mean, when I was little, I was reading The Course in Miracles. I was doing things that aren't normal. So part of it was just too that I just came in with a lot of knowledge. Maybe I didn't drink from the fountain of forgetfulness, or I'm just supposed to remember, or whatever it may be. But I really came in with a lot. I did work with 3 people, a paranormal investigator who came over to our house and released that curse and then taught me about the spirits. I did some work with a mind shaman for a little bit. This is where I learned that we don't need to touch people to do energy work, because not all healers are, great and good. He was teaching me how to pull energy out of my body. And I was like, but I have this from this life, and I have this from this life. So it was in that moment that I realized I could see other life experiences. And then obviously I had no reason to work with him because I could see more than he could see. And then getting the Reiki attunements. So I got Reiki 1 in 2000, and I was done with all my attunements, Reiki Master by 2002. And I honestly think that is what really shifted my career in nursing, because I had a hard time sitting there giving my patients 20 pills for their cardiac, condition. And I was like, what's going on in your life? Do you have any kids? Yeah, but I don't talk to them. Well, why don't you talk to your kids? Why don't you talk to your daughter? Right? That's going to store in your heart, So I think that, when I wanted to be a nurse, it was me as a child. When they said, what do you want to do? I saw a Red Cross truck and I thought I wanted to be a nurse. I didn't understand at the time that I was seeing past lives. So I think it was just kind of accumulation through the years of all these different things that came together. There's nobody that can teach all the things, because not everybody can do everything that I can do.
Well, when you talk about Reiki, not everybody can do that, right? If they don't see spirits or have that calling, they, even if they want to do it, if they don't have that spirit, they can't do it. Is that correct, or can they learn this?
Well, everybody can learn the white light. Justin has learned how to bring the white light in. Everybody can bring in the white light. But just because you're bringing in the white light doesn't mean that you need to bring in the white light and charge it to everybody out there that you know. One of the problems that I saw with Reiki is that just because somebody pays all that money to get the certification doesn't mean that they actually get the attunement. There's an energy work component that happens. And I can't tell you how many people I watched not get the attunement, and I can see it. And my mom's a Reiki master. So when my mom would do attunement, she would look at me and I would tell her if it took or not, because I could see it. I can see the shift in the energy. So it's an interesting concept to me that Reiki is so popular, and there's all these people out there that are doing it. And I mean, even the lady at my dental office, we went to see her, and she's like, I got my Reiki attunement. And I was like, no, you didn't. How much did you pay? And I'm like, let me just give it to you really fast. So I just went back there and I gave it to her really quickly. But it's just, there is an energy intuitive piece that you have to have. So we can all bring in the white light, and we can all do that for ourselves, but that doesn't mean that we should be attuning other people or, doing all these other things that people are out there doing with all their certifications.
For the people that don't really know what Reiki is, what's the best way to sum it up to them? Is it just energy work, or how would you say that?
Yeah, it's energy work. It's an ancient Japanese hands-on healing.
Okay. And how have you seen with the coronavirus and everything over the last few weeks? How have you seen dealing with your clients differently, or is it they're reaching out to you more often? What are you seeing in this time?
Well, my actual clients are, I was actually just telling two of my clients today, are in a really good place. I saw this coming a little bit ago. So we have been preparing. And one of the things I always teach my clients is that my life works out perfectly. And everything works out in the best way possible for everyone involved. So we might have an idea of how we want things to go, but then when we surrender it to universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it, things are going to work out even better than you could have ever imagined. So I think my clients are in a really good space. We were just all talking about that today with some of them. But I'm finding that people that have been following me, that like what I talk about and all of that, that a lot of those people have been really struggling. So a lot of my content has lately been about fear versus abundance, stepping out of the fear. Of course, people can feel what they want to feel, think what you want to think. But here's the thing about the energy. If you're in a place of fear, your vibration's low. It just is. I mean, I'm not trying to be like mean or negative. It's just energetically, that's where you're at.
Sure.
And if you're in a good space, if you're in a place of abundance, your energy is going to be higher. So if your family and friends are in a place of fear and you're not, somebody has to change. And it's usually not going to be the people in a place of fear because they're like in a victim place. Like they're not shifting. They're going to stay exactly where they are, right? And so usually the person who's feeling good tries to come down to their level. And that's where all the problems start to happen. So it's just recognizing that people can be in that space. If they want to be in that space of fear, they're absolutely allowed to have that experience. But that doesn't mean that I have to change my energy and lower my vibration to be around that. I can attract other people that are in a place of abundance. And the more actually that you're attracting abundance into your life right now during this time, the easier it feels. It doesn't feel so hard and so dark.
Any recommendations on how to get this energy of abundance? What should we do, especially when we're quarantined like this?
So the first thing you want to do is limit yourself to media exposure.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
I mean, because it's almost as if they want us to stay in a place of panic and fear over all of this. And when there wasn't as much reason, especially in San Diego, we don't have that many cases. It's almost like then they started to come up with solutions, but only once they had us in a place of fear for so many days. I mean, the fear was so thick in the air that you could totally feel it. So I would say limit your media exposure, get some exercise. If you're not quarantined to a place where you can't go outside yet, try to get some outside time in, because being outside in nature is very helpful. And then it's important to do daily abundance energy work. Now, when I say that, people are like, I have a daily gratitude journal, or I do a vision where what I want and I bring it in. That's not quite what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is allowing that abundance energy to flow in. I think Justin might have experienced this, where I have you bring the soft pink into your chest, into your arms, into your hands, and into everything around you. And you say, I allow abundance to flow into my life and into everything around me, because we're all energy, we're all connected. We're not going to like hoard the abundance, but we're letting it flow. And as you go throughout the day, when you start to get to a place where you're negative or you're not in a good space, instead of staying there, you can say, I see where I'm at. I don't want to be there anymore. Take a deep breath and just be grateful for something that you're truly grateful for in that moment. Because when you're grateful, that aligns your energy into this moment. But you can't like pretend. Like you can't be like, my life is miserable, I don't have any money, and then I did my abundance gratitude journal this morning, and like so it all cancels out. Well, then you're sending all these mixed signals, and then it's just like, well, what are you? Because you're a powerful creator. What are you creating? You're creating nothing. You're negating everything. So you
Sure.
got to
I call that going through the motions.
Yes, you cannot go through the motions in energy work and actually expect any change. You can't.
Yeah, you talk about the energy that's out there with people and that fear. It's interesting, walking around the grocery store, being somewhere where there actually is people. There is this weird energy going on. People don't want to. They don't smile. They won't even look at you. It's like they're scooting farther away in the aisle, like when you're grocery shopping. So I've made it a point when I've been grocery shopping to just smile at people. No one in there is smiling at all. So I'll just walk by and give them, hey, how's it going? And they're just like, oh, don't cough on me, don't sneeze on me. So
It's really don't breathe.
Yeah, it's
don't
like
breathe.
you almost like hold your breath when you're walking by people, but you see it on them and you feel that. And it's interesting talking about the energy that you feel from different people. And coming from a law enforcement background, police officers don't buy into a lot of that stuff, right?
Mhm.
But if you've been in the career long enough, you start to pick up on things. You're like, something's wrong with that car.
You just have a feeling.
It's that gut feeling. You're
Mhm.
like, you can't even articulate it. Like I have plenty of stories where it's like that someone in there needs to go to jail, and then not even knowing what's going on. It's just like something bad is going on in that car, and getting that energy. And I've talked with very few select officers that have agreed that there is something to the whole energy idea, but it's not very prevalent in the law enforcement community to buy into some of that stuff. So but you can feel energy when you're out with other people and just what's going on with them. So it can be pretty powerful. And then I'm sure right now the energy is, like you said, it's pretty low.
It's better. I think it changed a little bit last week. So I know that we just got more stay-at-home time and all that, but it actually shifted last week. It actually felt like the fear wasn't so thick I could cut it anymore around me. The first few days when it all started happening, I was just like, oh, I just feel it. And it was making me crabby. And I was like, this isn't mine. Like, I can't take this on, which is huge. We all need to recognize, like, it's not ours to take on. So then I was feeling better. And then I was just, like I said, posting all this stuff about fear and abundance and how to shift your energy. And then last week I woke up and I was like, it was right after the new moon. And I was like, oh, it feels better. So it does feel a little bit better. And I'm in San Diego. In San Diego, I think people maybe are a little bit friendlier. We smile at each other anyhow naturally when we open doors and stuff. And so, when we go on walks around the neighborhood, people are smiling and they're happy. I mean, of course, everybody's staying their distance. And I've only been to the store once in 2 weeks. We had a feeling this was coming. I mean, we're a little guided here. And so we've only been to the store once in 2 weeks. So when we went to the store, people seemed fine, but they definitely felt like, you're sick. I'm like, I've been quarantined for 15 days. I have nothing. I am good. But it's definitely out there. We're energetic beings. If you like somebody or if you want to run away. Know that. And there's so many things. It's just this society, we were taught to ignore all these things. And that's what I grew up in. When I first started my business in 2002, and I told people that I was an energy coach, people were like, what's that? Like, you work for like the energy company, like a coach, like I'm tall, I'm 5'9", so like you play basketball. And I'm like, no, so I mean, we've come a long way. So I think people are starting to pay attention.
Well, tell us about your book, The Energy Balance.
So the Energy Balance book, I want to grab it, but I can't really reach it because it looks like it's closer than it really is. So this is actually a really good book for right now because this is all about change and transformation. So it's literally called Energy Balance, My Guide to Transformation. And it gives a ton of energy exercises to help support you through big and small changes in your life. So I've worked in the spa industry for 5 years. And for the longest time, I would watch people and they would look at it and they're like, I like the rainbow and I like the waves. I'm afraid to touch it because it says change. And if I touch it, that change is just going to like go through the book and get me. But that's not quite how change works. And we're all going through a lot of change right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Lisa, I want to go back to what you're talking about because I don't think a lot of people know, but what is exactly a shaman? I might even be saying that wrong.
Yeah,
shaman, excuse me, I apologize.
Yeah. So a Mayan shaman is a Native American and they do energy work where they're like considered a healer in their community. And so I was seeing this Mayan shaman because my parents had gotten divorced when I was a kid, and I met my husband when I was 20, and he was divorced and had a kid. So I had a lot of stuff that I needed to release and let go of to really flow into that relationship. And so that's why I went to go see him, but he was not a good healer.
So what makes a good shaman? And Paul said Charmin. I think he's got the toilet paper.
Yeah, I bought too many of it.
It's all about the toilet paper right now, guys. It's all about the toilet paper. Well, here's what you want to look for with any healer. You want to make sure that you feel safe with them. You want to make sure that you're listening to your own intuition and your own abilities. A lot of people will go and see. I used to do psychic fairs a long time ago, and I would sit there in the booth, and the psychic next to me, I'm not a psychic like that. clients on their best path and I see things coming and stuff like that. But don't come to me to predict your future. I'm bored. I can't handle that. But she was sitting there and she was like, I see your mom. Your mom is here to talk to you. And she's like, my mom is still alive. And she's like, I see your grandma.
Oh.
And I'm like, get up and run away. Like sometimes people just want to like buy into something so bad that they'll like sit there and listen to anything that people are willing to say to them. And so I'm always about like, they should know your parents are alive. They should know, all these things. And if they don't, I mean, there are so many people who make my industry look awful,
Sure.
and here I am. I'm not wearing purple. I'm not wearing a scarf. You don't see any crystals on me. There's like all these things that, people associate with a healer, but that doesn't necessarily make somebody a good healer. You want a healer who is born with their abilities. If people are taught and trained, I'm not saying that they're not okay. We all have some intuitive abilities that we can pick up on, but you don't want anybody in your energy that just kind of knows a little bit about some things.
Sure.
It's like somebody making you dinner that kind of knows a little bit about that, or a physical therapist who knows a little bit about your energy, I can't even talk, your injury, right? Yeah. It's the same idea. So you want somebody who really knows what they're doing, and in order to get that, you need somebody who's been doing it since they were born.
I feel like people lump all these ideas together, whether it's like tarot cards and palm reading, and like what is your idea on those other aspects, like either the
well,
validity of them or...
Well, I mean, they're using a tool to help you. I have cards that I might pull out with my clients, but they're not tarot cards. Mm-hmm. When we were little, my mom would pull us all into her bedroom one by one, and she would make us read the tarot cards, and we had to guess what was on the other side. I can't read the tarot card. And then she would do cards with like, a regular deck of cards, and you had to guess if it was red or black. I cannot read those. I just can't. Mm-hmm. They just don't work for me. But you just sit down next to me and you're like, hey, Lisa, what's going on? I'm like, boom, I'm in your energy. I know what you're doing. I know why. I know what you're holding on to, where it is. So like there's just these different ways. So a lot of psychics use those cards to kind of help guide them.
Sure.
I don't see a psychic, so.
Could your mom tell the colors? Red and black?
She can do so, but my sister could. My middle sister could predict it with 100% accuracy. So she would be in that room with my mom for hours. And my little sister can do it too. So I kind of actually got shunned. Like even to this day, my family's like, what is it that you do? I don't quite get what you do. Like, I don't understand. And that's okay. Because either my clients, like they get it, they know it, and we connect. And if you're not my people, like that's totally fine. But my sisters want nothing to do with any of this stuff. And
what do they do?
When we're little.
What do they do for work?
Well, they're both stay-at-home moms, but one was an elementary teacher. Like she taught, I think, kindergarten and pre-kindergarten. And my other sister was a nurse. We were supposed to graduate at the same time. So she was a labor and delivery nurse.
Okay.
So
this is my curious thought. Can you turn it off, or is this always going on?
I'm always on.
So that's...
I'm always on. I might try to
gotta make people uncomfortable,
things.
Right? Like, when they know. Because I know just for me, like when people learn like how I can pick up on emotions and deception in their face, like they start like covering their face. So I'm literally was thinking about watching you. I'm like, I wonder what she's picking up, just having this conversation with us.
Well, I try not to.
Sure.
I've been doing this for so long that I try not to just tune into your life and just be nosy just because I can. Like that doesn't serve me. That's not a good use of my energy. That doesn't help you. If I'm in a grocery store and I'm walking down an aisle, I need to smile at somebody, ask somebody if they need help with something. I'll use it for things like that. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I try to be as normal as I possibly can. The only place I've been able to find where I can like really tune it out, and I call it the Superwoman move. We used to have our own pool, and I would push off in the deep end and I would just float for as long as I can stay there, because I felt like the water kind of kept me from knowing everything else that was going around. If my kids were in the pool, that didn't work. It was only if I was the only person in the pool, like I could like escape. But no, I'm always on trying not to read stuff.
Yeah, it's tough, and so I feel that aspect. It's a different type of reading, that I do, but it's tough to turn off, and you see things and you're like, you want to address it, and you're like, nope, Mm-mm.
You
Nope.
can't, sometimes I see things that I can't address, like I'll know if somebody's husband is cheating on them, or if somebody's got like an alcoholic problem. I know all this stuff, and I know why you do it. I know who, it can get really crazy. And if we're out and about in a restaurant or something and I'm with friends, I don't even realize it do it, but I'll like look, and they're like, what was it? And then I'm like, oh, it was but I don't even acknowledge half the time. There's so many things happening.
Hmm.
If that makes any sense, that I try to be as normal as possible. And my kids have my ability, so I try to help them be as normal as possible.
That seems pretty stressful on you, that it's always going on and you can't really turn it off. And I know that that you try your best, but it sounds like, man, your mind's constantly going and going and going. So I guess that's where the meditation comes into
Hmm.
play for you, correct?
That's where the energy work comes into play. Like I do
Hmm.
energy work on myself all day long. So from the moment I wake up in the morning and throughout the whole day until I go to bed, I'm constantly letting go, bringing in the white light, taking deep breaths. I am grateful all day long.
Wow. Yeah, I was gonna ask if it was distracting. So I can only imagine, and that's why you're constantly getting rid of other people's energy as well,
Hmm.
right? I guess that's
Hmm.
probably the main thing.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and now that we're in social isolation and I'm really only dealing with my family,
so it's almost like a
I
vacation for you, right? Yeah.
except for they're like, when can we see our friends? And I'm like, when the social isolation is over. You're not seeing anybody. I'm not reporting to the CDC that we were in contact with these many people in 3 days, you know? So, I mean, I can still see my clients. I feel like I've gotten to a place though where I can read it and I'll maybe make a note,
Sure.
like talk to them about it later. Like I don't always have to be on. And it took me a long time to get to that point. I used to always feel like I had to get back to people right away and tell everybody what I saw right away. And then I realized that not everybody wants to know what I'm seeing.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I believe
so
that.
am I actually helping or am I hurting?
And
So
bringing
I
stuff to the
really wait for
surface.
invitations now.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
so I
fair.
don't.
Rather than bringing stuff to the surface that maybe they're not ready to address, or that they didn't want someone else to know about, they're like, oh dang, like now my business is out there, however you figured it out, or are made aware of it. So I can see that. What's the best way for our viewers and our listeners to get a hold of you, or to look up your content? How can they reach out to you?
So the easiest way would probably be to go to my website, which is www.lisagornall, GORNALL.com. And there you can see my books. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn. I have a ton of videos on YouTube. So I would probably start there.
Okay, and we'll make sure to put all your information down in the show notes. We like to wrap up the show with our guests. Think about the title, actions and limits. So, in this time, because this is time a lot of turmoil, a lot of emotions, and different energies going on. What is one action that you could give to our audience to put into place that could make a difference right now?
The white light. Do the white light every day. If you want, I can walk everybody through it really quickly. Do you want me to take
Yeah,
30
please do.
seconds and
Yeah,
walk everybody
sure.
through? Okay. So when you're first beginning, you want to be sitting. But once you've been doing it for a while, you can be doing dishes and bring it through, or driving your car, bring it through. But for the very beginning, I recommend that you're just sitting down, you're comfortable, you close your eyes, and you just imagine a beam of white light coming in from the top of your head, down to your neck, down to your chest, down to your stomach, down to your knees, down to your feet, and into the earth. And then you can easily add an I am statement, like I am peace, I am calm, I am free. And then you can open your eyes when you're ready. And just doing something simple like that is a huge game changer for your energy, which is then going to create a ripple and affect everybody's energy around you as well.
Typically, how long do you do that, or you think of that?
Well, it only takes me a second to bring it through.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just do it throughout the day as needed. I'll walk up to my
Mm-hmm.
family members and I will do it to them as needed, especially my kids when they were little and they would be getting all crazy, like especially, that 5, 6, 7 year age mark when they're really crazy. I would walk up to them and I'd be like, you've got to calm down. And they'd be like, no, no. And then by the time I got to their neck, they'd be like, okay. Mom grounded me. Like, because I energetically like balanced their energy, right? So like they weren't like crazy and everywhere. So if you want to watch the news, that's fine, but don't like take it all on, like don't absorb it, and then just put yourself in the white light. Let go of any of that stress that you picked up on.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's a good tool to use, a way to, like you said, center yourself and get that energy, that higher energy. So the other half, the actions and limits, we self-impose all these limits on ourselves, right? So what would be the major one in this time that you would have us remove?
I'm helpless.
Hmm.
Right? Because everybody thinks that they're helpless, like there's nothing that they can do, they're forced at home. But honestly, this is a really good time for you to create some new routines that are going to support you when you can go back to whatever your life as normal is. So if you need to increase your exercise routine, or a lot of people aren't comfortable eating out right now, this is a great time to learn some new recipes to cook for yourself. It's a great time to implement family time, family walks. Like, it's a really good time to implement all these things that you wish you could always do and you never have the time to do because you're so exhausted. So let's take care of our bodies. Let's implement some self-care, and let's focus on the positive. There are some positives in this, right? It's not like you're living on the street. Like, you're in your house, you're comfortable, you're not going to get kicked out. It's been guaranteed. Like, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
I can
create
see
some good
that.
patterns.
That removing that idea of, saying you're helpless and have no control over anything,
Mm-hmm.
like you started off saying, you focus on the things you can control. That's where you get your clients to, it sounds like, to
Mm-hmm.
where, when the world starts tumbling down, it's like, okay, I don't have control over that. Let's focus on
What you
this, right?
do.
Yeah. And being grateful for the things that you do have.
Mm-hmm. And really grateful. Don't just like be grateful for the things you think you should be grateful. Don't be grateful for your husband if you want to kill him right now, or your wife. I've
Yeah.
seen those posts out there. I know that they're happening. $3,500, you can have the hazmat team come in and remove your spouse and bring it back 2 weeks later, right? No. Like, be grateful for things that you're truly grateful for. Like, sometimes, when my kids were little, I always tell this story. We had a closet bathroom, and I was so grateful that I could go in there and just close it for just 30 seconds and breathe, because they didn't know how to open the door yet. They couldn't even reach it, So I had 30 seconds where I could be like, I'm so grateful they can't open the door. I want them to open the door at some point, but right now I'm happy that they cannot open that door, But we always have control over our thoughts, our words, and our actions. So remember that, like, you're not helpless. That puts you into a victim state. I always go like this: low, victim, B.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, Lisa, we are so glad to have you on the show. Definitely sharing some different insights and some ideas moving through this time where everyone is a little stressed out. Their energy is a little bit lower. So hopefully this can give our audience another outlet, and they can look you up and hopefully connect with you and learn something new. Right? This is, I think, it's kind of new ideas for some people out there. Maybe some people have heard about some of this stuff, but really glad to have you on the show, and glad for the work that you're doing during this time. And I'm sure your clients are super happy to have you at their side during all this.
They really are. I told them I'm going on vacation next week. We have an RV, so we can self-quarantine ourselves anywhere we want in California. So we're going to self-quarantine ourselves. And I said, but don't worry. I know that this is a hard time, so I'm going to be working with you, but you're not going to be able to video call, just phone call. And they're like, oh, thank God.
Still keep that connection alive, right? So
exactly.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for being our guest on the show. And yeah, so glad to have you.
Thank you. It's very fun. It was nice to meet you, Paul. Good to be here.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
All right, Paul. So what did you think about Lisa? I think she was super interesting and had a lot of different ideas. I mean, working through this, but not a lot of stuff we've talked about before on the show. So she's definitely a different guest, different type of guest.
She is definitely a different type of guest, but some of the stuff that she was saying is what we've been preaching. She just does it in a different way. You know,
Sure.
being grateful of things, and but the meditation, that 30-second meditation that she did, I'm going to start using that because I did feel a sense of calm after I did it, because I wanted to do it. You know, she was giving us some free meditation work right there, so I wanted to really try it,
Mm,
and she kept saying, you can't just, I'm going to use my own words, going through the motions. And I preach that all the time.
sure.
You can check a box. I could give you a list of things to do, and you could say, oh, I did that, and then go, oh, it didn't work. Well, did you really do it? Did you really do it? Or
Yeah.
did you just want to check a box? Because these tasks, you got to really focus in on what you want to do. You can just do it and say, oh, well, it didn't work. Well, you didn't give it the effort.
Yeah, and I think that goes for a lot of different things. Even with meditation itself, like if you like, because I've done it on and off. Like I'll randomly do meditation. I've had one that has stuck with me since high school. And if you're like, oh, I need to do this to relax, and if you half-ass meditation, hey, it's not going to work. You know, you feel yourself being resistant to certain things for whatever reason. It's that voice in your head that's chiming in about what we're doing or what we should be doing, or judgment about different ideas. And so, yeah, I agree with you. You know, if you're just going through it, well, oh, I have to do my meditation today, and you check the box, right? Rather than actually sitting in it and letting it release some of that negative energy that you're holding on to, and that stress and that anxiety, you know, do it. Whatever that task is, whether it's meditation, whether it's, working on different tools or techniques or different things you need to do with your business or even personally, I agree with you there, the idea of checking the box. But yeah, I I heard a lot of similar ideas coming through. Obviously, the medium that she uses to get these ideas out is different than what we talk about. But even when she's talking about the energy, and being able to be okay, like if the people around you are all scared and afraid or mad, and you're up here, you're like, hey, I'm content, I'm happy. And it's, to me, what I was hearing was the difference between empathy and sympathy. You know, empathy, I can be like, oh, okay, you're over there, you're sad, you're mad. Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you for it. That's where you're at. That's okay for you. And I'm going to stay where I'm at, content, happy over here. The sympathy side is like, oh, I need to take on that emotion that you're feeling, be like, oh, well, oh, yeah, I can see why you're sad and why you're mad, and get into that negative emotional state with them, sympathizing with how they are, and in essence, letting them bring you down to their level. And I think in these times, it's easy for us to let that happen. So you need to be aware of it.
Well, you were mentioning something about the grocery store and smiling, because I actually do the same thing that you do, and I make a point that, if I make eye contact with somebody, I make a point to smile. And you were saying that you didn't get it; you're getting kind of a negative impact. I'm not, actually. I remember I saw, this was the other day. I went to the grocery store, and somebody kind of had a scowl on their face, and I made eye contact with her, and I smiled, and she turned that scowl and smiled back at me. So,
Yeah.
I was able to, kind of change your energy. It's all, like just almost to say, it's okay.
Yeah.
We all feel uneasy. We don't know when this all is going to end, but but we're in this together, and we can feel each other, and bring each other up.
Yeah. And I think that's the point of like going and doing it on purpose and being like, hey, look, you see this person struggling, they're scared, they're afraid right now, and giving them that smile and be like, hey, it's okay, we're gonna be all right, and having that reach out there. And yeah, I've definitely seen, the result you said, turning people around to where they smile back. But just in general, watching the public, it's been very different experience going to the grocery store and seeing that, and then just registering, like you said, and being like, hey, I need to do something. I need to smile at this person. I need to say hi. So yeah, I think it's all good. And I appreciate Lisa for coming on the show and sharing all those different ideas with us. And our viewers, listeners, you can check her out on her website, and all that information is down in the show notes. All right, let's
Shaman, right? It's called Shaman. It's
Shaman,
Shaman,
not
Shaman.
Sherman or Charmin.
Charmin.
Charmin toilet paper.
Shaman. Yeah.
I know you got toilet paper on the mind, Paul. Everyone does.
Yeah.
It's Shaman, not
Shaman.
Sherman.
Okay. All right.
All right. So let's wrap up the show with another segment of Ask Paul Anything. Let me pull up our question here. Again, make sure to send us an email to actionsandlimits@gmail.com, and you may have your question featured on the show. And if you do, we will send you some Frontline Standard swag. So this question comes from Keith in Oregon. He says, Paul, which of your personality traits has been the most useful?
That's an excellent question. And I would say, I guess what's helped me through this time is my upbeat personality, and my awareness of that. Because I can sense myself, okay, I'm starting to drag, and I start to train my mind to come, like we talked about gratitude. I start to think about things that I'm grateful for, and that helps me, especially right now, because I spend most of my day, on the laptop, marketing my business, but I'm by myself most of the day, and it's lonely, and I'm a social person. So it's trying to keep that, that positive mindset, and I just being aware that I'm dragging and coming up with something that I'm grateful for, because there's many things that I am grateful for, even during this time.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. Having an upbeat personality, just naturally being that way, that's an advantage that you have over somebody else, right? And, the second part of what you said, that self-awareness, that's definitely a skill that, we all need to learn, be aware of ourselves, whatever it is going on. Like you said, when you start dragging, being able to, let me catch myself before I go too deep into that rabbit hole, and go to the other side and be like, hey, these are the things in my life right now that I'm grateful to have and happy about. So yeah, I like that. Having an upbeat personality, I'm sure definitely gives you an edge, out there, especially during times like this. So Keith, thank you for your question. Again, make sure to send your questions into actionsandlimits@gmail.com to be featured on our segment, Ask Paul Anything. Great show, Paul. Great guest. Glad to have her on the show. I know we had to reschedule, a couple months back, but I think the timing worked out perfect to have her come on the show and during this time frame to share all her ideas and tools and techniques. So great show.
For Justin Atherton, this is Paul Fortune. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you next Monday. Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure to click and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, check us out on YouTube on our channel Actions and Limits. Keep sending in those questions for our segment Ask Paul Anything, and make sure to send those emails into actionsandlimits@gmail.com. Thank you, and keep listening.